Hey there everyone, welcome to So You Want to Tank Threatre of Pain. I recently did an 18 with a guild group. It went really well, lots of fun. So first things first here is the very common strat is to actually skip that first pack and grab the Bloodhorn and bring it into the bosses and just lust that off. Now if you're going to do this, you're going to want to make sure that you do have a soothe, because that raging Bloodhorn, when he does the raging temper tantrum, does hurt a lot. But our group just murdered him down, and we go right from the bosses. So this boss here has three different bosses that you have to deal with. One being Desia the Decapitator, Passerin, and Sathel. Now, especially on tyrannical weeks, you want your group to focus down Desia. It really hurts the tank, and it's not a lot of fun. But as long as you have a soothe for him, like that Mortal Strike, that can really start chonking, it's not a lot of fun to deal with. The casters will occasionally do a Seething Death or Searing Death cast. You want to kick that. Aside from that, you want to kick everything else that you can. And as a tank, there is a little rogue enemy NPC that will come out and will stun one of the more ranged targets. If you're all within melee, they'll be there. As a DK, you should actually have your death grip up every time for it, so nice and simple. But if you have a ranged stun, keep that in mind and save it for this fight, which is an actually useful boss stun when dealing with that. Now here we got a little close to me dying, and then they were like, oh crap, we really need to focus down the Desia the Decapitator. If you can try and get the kicks off on the other ones to keep them in together, call for range kicks and things like that, because the more cleave you can get down, obviously the faster this is going to go. But aside from that, just focus down Desia, and then usually I think we do Sathel and then Pacerin or whatever, but as long as you keep the kicks going and you have a good kick rotation, you should be fine. Yeah, very simple fight, very simple tactics. What I do there is I'll start in the middle of the room, and then I'll kind of work my way around, so then that way whenever the, I think it's the Searing Death or whatever have you not, goes off, that way you just kind of rotate on the side of the rooms, and that way your range can maybe stay in the middle or whatnot, and you still have plenty of room to work with. One of them does like to kind of pop around. I think it is Pacerin here that just likes to blink away and start casting, so he's the one that you're going to want to focus a kick on when he goes away, so you can come right back to the tank. And then that is basically the first part of Threatre of Pain, and then we're gonna jump down and then go from there. In 9.1, the strat was to go into the Zavwing first to grab the Lieutenant. That's not going to be a focus very much in 9.2 with the encrypted affix, so not much more to worry about there. But I did want to talk about these conscripts and the Arbalist here a little bit. Have your DPS, if they can, focus on the Arbalist more than the conscripts, because the Arbalist really do hurt, and they target random party members, not just the tank, where the conscripts you can have them just focus on you. But here we're going to skip Varuth and go on to the next wing. This week we chose to go to the Gorechop wing because it has the Incinerator, in which we wanted to focus that down. So I came in as our resident Necro Lord, so I'm double pulling this. It's a tyrannical week. The big thing with here is there's a couple of casts. So the Blighted Sludge Spewers have the Withering Discharge cast. That is literally the most important thing to kick. The Disease Horrors have the Meat Shield that can be CC'd. And aside from that, the Putrid Butcher does a chop that will heal himself. Not the chop, but he does do an ability that heals himself. If that can be CC, that's it. Devour Flesh right here. You see how big of a heal that got off. He was at 10, about 12%. It can be for more. So that's something you're going to want to focus a defensive on, especially in higher keys or if you're under geared, to really not let that devour flesh go off. Here they reminded me I needed to grab the banner, and why not? I do like 10% versatility. Again, here with this Putrid Butcher and the blighted sludge spewers. The thing here is you really want everyone to stack together, because the sludge spewers will jump to a ranged target. So if everyone's together, they don't jump as much easier cleave, things like that. Same things apply. You really want to kick the Withering Discharge, and the Putrid Butcher still does that Devour Flesh. Now, I think here with my route, I do hold the Ancient captive with Control Undead, so I pull this Rancid Gashbag. He does do a Barfin Fart, let's call that, where he does a frontal and a bactal, where you do not want to be in it or you will be disoriented. In most, honestly, in most routes, you can skip him very, very easily. He's not worth that much percent. I just get it because it's easy. The group expects it, and I just don't have to. I just don't have to work on a skip or anything like that in case if anything happens. And then here we're gonna take on the Lieutenant, which I will skip over to the next pack. Going downstairs, we have a Disease Horror, which I'm gonna eventually control Undead once I kind of realize it. Aside from that, Putrid Butchers, same thing. It's just more of the same when it comes to these types of things, the Sludge Spewers and things like that. The Disease Horror is something you gotta watch out for a little bit, but he's actually not the main focus. You really want to get these Sludge Spewers down as fast as possible, or rotate CCs, so that way they're always dead and good to go. Now here, I tried to pull it separately, and then I kind of just said, screw it, and just pulled everything, because I got too close, admittedly. But aside from that, I use Gorfiend's Grasp at some point, get them in. The range, I do have to remember to come in to let these kicks kind of, you know, to let them not jump out. Here, you watch the frontal bactal, boom, you're good to go. And the next pack is a little bit more of the same, just kind of kick the meat shields, watch the Devour Flesh. Really not that complicated. Just in the Gorechop wing, one thing to remember, the smaller the creature, chances are the more dangerous they are. Aside from the gas bags, but the gas bags are the gas bags and they are what they are. Just as long as you have a capable crew that's able to move out of the way, and you are smart enough to move out of the way as well and stay out of the ground effects, you're fine. Now, next is Gorechop himself. So Gorechop has a couple of mechanics. He has the meat hook curtain that comes down and will go through the entire area, leaving a couple of gaps which you have to avoid. He has two adds that when they die, they will actually drop a pool on the ground, a poison pool that you want to kind of stay away from. So at first, I will tank him in the middle, and then once things start to die, I will shift from side to side, because the pools eventually do go away. So here we have the two pools, so I'll pull him back and tank him on the side here. I know we didn't have any melee, so I didn't have to worry about positioning much for them. I just had to worry about for myself. There's the meat hook curtain that goes down. It grabs you. It is considered a stun, so if you're a Death Knight, you can hit Icebound Fortitude, and the curtain will actually just pass right through you. If not, if you don't have anything, an anti-stun or anything like that, it will drag you to the other side. And the other side, all around here, the entire side is a silence, so you really are trapped within the boundaries of this thing and not just by the walls, so you don't want to be silenced or anything like that. So tank positioning here is pretty important, not specifically where you are, but where you tank him. His positioning is more important than anything. So here we have that. I knew I had Icebound Fortitude. I had planned for this, and I had told my group in advance that I'm just going to go through it, so they should position themselves more accordingly. The big tank buster here is that Hateful Strike that you see, so you do either want to plan defensives or some sort of heal, and just go from there. So here we had two more of the jumpy adds die, and there I move over to the other side. Eventually the pools will go away. This is a tyrannical week, so the bosses do take a little bit more time to die. Aside from that, this is a lot of rinse and repeat. The mechanics hurt. Some range DPS are going to have a lot of trouble planting themselves and staying put, because just the way it works. So expect a little bit of any casters are really going to hate this fight, really, so expect some complaining from them, but that's just kind of how it works. And you take the meat hooks up, and next we're going to go over the Cultharac, or the Lich Wing. First things first are the Shackled Souls. Now these things, one by one, don't do much, but in larger numbers can very much hurt. So here I like to split this pull into two. If you are confident in yourself and your group, and you have all the abilities that you need, you can make it through. But when they do the cast that is kickable, the Bind Soul, it is a slow. So it's something you're going to want to disadvance. Freedom, our Avatar as well, can break it for Warrior and things like that. But you do want to DPS them down and kick as many of them as possible. Here we're going to lose some people to bursting, unfortunately. Just kind of how it works. So we'll wait for everybody to get back. Bursting is very, very fun. And then I'm gonna totally forgot that Fleshcraft exists at times. I don't play Necro DK very much. It is very, very fun. I just don't like the 2-minute cooldown. I like the 1 minute of the Venthyr ability. So with the route here, I grab all of these. We lost our hunter fairly quickly, but I use Death's Advance to hide around the corner, bring them in, and I'm going to eventually Gore Fiends them all kind of in place, I do believe. Or I might not have done that. Either way, same thing applies. Watch out for, that Bind Soul cast really, really hurts. And will definitely, it doesn't necessarily target just you. It will target your players as well. It doesn't hurt the tank that much, but it can really hurt some of the squishier classes. So watch who it goes on to, and if you can kick it or stun it or whatever have you not, you can do that. You can do that. Now here we have the Portal Guardian. I am going to duel this with Oros, just if you're watching this in 9.2, Oros doesn't matter. The Portal Guardian, what really hurts is the Soul Storm. It deals a lot of magic damage, so if you can put down an AMZ, here we lost our mage, but we did have high enough DPS that, we were pretty well fine. AMZ is a very, very strong ability for this. Rallying Cry is very good and things like that. And here we're going to... Oh. We lost both of our hunters. Things like that are going to happen. And then we're just going to DPS down Oros, and then we are going to go over to the next pack. Now, the strategy here, usually with most pugs, is the first one you go right, and the second one you go left with these little portals. If you are a Blood Elf, the first thing you want to do when entering these is to use your Arcane Torrent ability to remove their buff. They have a nice big shield when they start off. And the Bone Magus are very easy to kill, but their Bone Spears hurt. Kicking the Bone Spears for that is absolutely top priority. The other abilities aren't fun to deal with, but the Bone Spears can really decimate your DPS. In higher keys, if both Bone Spear casts target one player, it is very likely that that player will just die. Here we have a very, very fun pack with the Bone Magi, Magical Soulbinder, and a Portal Guardian. So here you want to watch out for, again, the Bone Spear cast, Soul Storm, you want to use defensives, and the Soulbinder does a Necrotic Bolt Volley, which is really unpleasant to deal with. You as a tank can deal with the Necrotic Bolts. It's not too bad. Have, some sort of defensive if you know too many of them are going to go off at once, or in a row, sorry. But aside from that, it's not too bad at all. The Portal Guardian's Soulstorm is really what you want to focus for your defensives there. But the other two are actually more dangerous if you just focus down the Portal Guardian. So you want to kick things and things like that. So here we go left, and we get to deal with the famous, the Tornadoes, the Twisters. Now, with the way that I like to pull this, sometimes it's difficult to get them together. When you hit the first one on the right, the first thing he's going to do is cast the Spirit Frost. If you kick it and bring it over to the second one, he will follow you immediately. So just have that kick ready for whenever you want to make this pull. It makes them a lot easier to group up. Aside from that, decursing on this part is very, very important, because they do the little purple swirlies, which you do want like a mage or a shaman or something to decurse that. Aside from that, you're going to be moving constantly, and you want to watch out for the Twisters. And then lastly is one of the more fun packs in this dungeon is the last one here. So again, Arcane Torrent, the Bone Magus, Magical Soulbinder, and the Twisters, the Twister guy. The Nefarious Darkspeaker, not the Twister guy, but whatever. You do want to watch out for everything. You are on a little platform with very limited movement. So just do your best. Kick the Necrotic Bolt Volleys, Bone Spears, Arcade. You want to purge, you want to decurse, and then go from there. And that is the trash for the wing. Now, on the Soulstorm or the Twister guys, if you do need a little bit of extra percent, the packs on the left really aren't that bad to pull. They're pretty time efficient as well. So if you wanted to skip the gas bag, you can get percent on either of those big platforms there. Now, Cultharac has to be one of the most boring tank fights in the game. Your entire job is basically to plant yourself and just make sure you don't die. You basically can't lose aggro on this either, no matter what you do. You can help your group with AMZs and things like that. Now, he does a cast that puts a dot on 2 targets, and this can be a tank, DPS, healer, does not matter. Most of the time as the tank, they're just going to let you go and just have a defensive ready, because really there's not that much to deal with. In 15s, he does slap a little bit harder once you start getting up to 20, 22s, and 23s, obviously, but you as a tank should be able to deal with it fairly well. Just be conscious of when he's hitting, when he's drawing soul. So when he does the draw soul, he's not actually targeting you, so you don't need a defensive, and then he'll kind of go off and just start hitting you again. Really, it's not that big of a cast. The magical dot is what you have to worry about, and the healer can only really dispel 1 at a time. So something to watch out for. If you do have a Warlock in the group that's running Destro or Affliction, this is a good time to ask them to actually pull out their Imp. And the healer can deal with 1 dot, and the Imp Singe, Dispel, can actually take care of the 2nd dot, making it a very trivial mechanic. Aside from that, just, you know, remind your DPS that they have to get into the hands or by the hands to grab their souls as often, you know, whenever they get that draw soul cast. Aside from that, that's the Phantasmal Parasite cast. You see that on that person there. If it's on a hunter and you have any off heals, I do save off heals quite frequently for hunters and things like that on my paladin. And if you do have any off heal capabilities, this is if the DPS gets the draw soul and the dot at the same time, it can really just decimate their health bar. So watch out for that if you can pop an AMZ, things like that. I didn't think about it. I was having quite a bit of fun. We were just kind of chit-chatting through the entire fight and really just kind of having a silly fun run key. And that's basically it. Really, it's a boring tank fight. You can honestly just not have to move ever and you're fine. If you by chance do leave his effective melee range, he will do a kickable cast that you do need to kick. Now, I did not do it here, but if that cast gets off, it is a lot of damage. So just make sure that you're always staying within the effective melee range. If you have to kite, like, not if you have to kite, but if you like want to bread someone and you're a class that has the NG Brez, for example, if you leave that melee range, make sure that cast gets kicked, and he is going to keep casting it until you get back within melee range. So just something to watch out for there, and then yeah, one little fun tip: as you go through all of the portals, they do fully heal you. So if like here, if you're at 50% health coming in and you hit the portal, you will immediately go up to full health, and that is true for any of the portals that you take in this wing. Lastly, the Zav wing. This one here has 3 major enemies and 1 very difficult pull. So depending on what week you are and how you're confident with your damage comps and things like that, what we've done in higher keys 20 pluses is we actually pull these first big guys together. Something to watch out for. You can pull them separate, you can pull them together, depending on how much time you have. Depending on who you get, because each room has a chance to get 1 of 2 different things, so do watch out for their separate mechanics. There's a whirlwind, there's some stomps, some line of sight things, and things like that. Like here, you want to get out of there, DPS them down. Now, I am going to take control of the Ancient Captain in the upcoming pack, and I know this, so I let go of my Diseased Horror. If you're a DK, this is a good time to do it here. The Mangler's really not that bad. You just want to avoid these Ravager things that are just kind of like the spinning swords, and make sure you're out of the whirlwinds. Really not that bad. The other one has a kickable cast called Battle Trance. You just want to kick that. Really, these things they have a lot of health. They're mini bosses. They generally hit hard, but they're really not that mechanically difficult to deal with. So I'm going to grab Banner, because give me that good old 10% versatility, and with the incinerator buff sitting at 28% verse. Ooh la la, love it. Love to see it. Here I am going to get a little wild, and I'm going to sneak around not very well. Realize my bone shield stacks are about to drop off. Grab that ancient captain who decided to fuck around on me. Control undead him, and then pull everything in together, and then, because what happens there is now we get a 2% damage buff. The enemies around here lose their the AoE damage aura that they get, so what happens is your AoE is dampened by quite a large percent. You want to focus down the Arbalest again while cleaving off everything else. The conscripts aren't that bad, but the Arbalists are really, really what you want to focus down. But without that ancient captain there, this pull becomes a lot easier. So if you have a Frost Death Knight, or if you're a BDK, control undeading that captain is great. You get a 2% damage increase and a 2% damage decrease from AoE abilities, as long as you are controlling him. So I will keep him throughout the entire fight, because I know my enemy forces are just fine. I'm not worried about it at all. We're going to DPS him down. He does a mean stomp, and he does just a frontal cone. You want to watch out. So here you see, boom. It's always one or the other. Usually the one that always hit last will win, and then you go from there. So here, the ricocheting blade and the seismic stomp and unbreakable guard. 3 mechanics. Not difficult to deal with, but this one here is actually very intensive on your healer. The ricocheting blade can actually be LOS, line of sighted. If you see around these stairs, if you have your ranged DPS hang out here, if they get the ricocheting blade, they can actually just go into the stair corner and completely LOS it, making it a non-mechanic. The seismic stomp does hurt a lot, and on fortified keys in higher keys, this is going to start hurting more and more. It is not just a tank buster, but it hurts everyone. And aside from that, the unbreakable guard, he puts a shield up, it's free DPS, just get behind him, and you are fine. Any DPS coming from the front or sides there will be null and void. And the second last boss is the Zav. Zav, I think it's the Unbroken, I don't know. The Unfallen, that's what it is. I just know it's Zav. The PvP boss. The PvP boss has a couple things you need to worry about as a tank, but not that much. So one of the things is he does the brutal combo, where he will hit you 3 times for increasing damage. That last blow is really the important one. So if you can only have a defensive for one of them or anything like that, you really want to focus on the last 2 or the last blow. This mechanic here, he will separate half the room somehow. So he'll do the whirlwind ability that you want to get out. He'll pick a side of the room. He does these in random orders, but then he also does that line. I had a little bit of lag here. Now here's where you do need to watch out. Things are going to slow down. Once he picks 2 people, they're going to go do some PvP. Whoever wins gets a nice big buff. This is where I like to save AoE abilities, because we're missing 2 DPS during this time, because the oppressive banner that goes up puts a massive slow on everybody as long as that banner is up. So you really, really want that to drop as fast as you can, because when he does this mechanic here, the crushing slams and the cleaves, you really don't want to be in them, and being slowed to death is not fun at all. Little fact, if your casters are wondering why they are getting silenced here, if you are casting anything outside of the whirlwind circle, that actually does silence as well. So if you're like perhaps a paladin or a bear druid that's doing some off healing and you're wondering why you're getting locked there, that's actually why. You do not want to be casting when that circle's going off, because you will get locked out of your spells. Aside from that, rinse and repeat. Fairly easy. Mordretha is the fun one coming up next. And here we actually had a fiancé battle. The 2 that went down are engaged together, and they had to PvP themselves down. I think one of them like pulled turtle or ice block or something. It was pretty funny. Here you can see me laughing there, them going off. It's pretty fun. Now because we skipped the forces up top when we go up there, we are actually going to have to deal with them, but there is some roleplay until Mordretha is ready to fight. But here we're just going to DPS things down, and then we'll move on ahead. Going upstairs, we're immediately going to deal with the first pack that we skipped for the last bit of our enemy forces that we need, while Mordretha is kind of just, you know, being herself and waiting to be summoned. The Battlefield Ritualist does that Unholy Fervor. If you can kick it, please do. It hurts. Aside from that, the Contenders do a charge. Really, they're not fun to deal with. They hit hard, but really just watch out. It's not that bad. Mordretha has a lot of mechanics. This is definitely one of the tougher bosses in the Mythic Plus, especially on Tyrannical. So she has a lot of movement-based abilities that you need to kind of move out of, I should say. She does a lot of things that you need to move out of. Reaping Scythe is her big tank buster. This will deal more damage the longer the fight goes on. It is magic-based, so warriors, you can spell reflect every second one. DKs, you can hit anti-magic shell to negate a lot of the damage. Now, this Grasping Riff here, she'll put a portal down, it'll suck everybody down. You really don't want to be near that. Now, here I use Slappy Hands, grip all of the adds that come up. This will happen every second portal, so do watch out. You want to kick them and bring them all in and really just kind of AoE cleave them down. The Dark Devastation is a frontal that you just don't want to be anywhere near, or it will push you into the guards and kind of bounce you around. If you get too close to these guards, they will push you back into the fight. So don't be in them. Grasping Rift, here we got unlucky, so I saved my Death's Advance. Move out of the way, don't have to worry about that. And then go from there. That Reaping Scythe. Now, what I like to do is I like to save a Death Strike and maybe a minor defensive or Rune Tap or something like that. And really, I knew I was okay on this 18, so I really wasn't worried about it, or I would have planned my Icebound Fortitude, Vamp, and Anti-Magic Shell better. Here, I'm going to actually run with Gorfine's Grasp, get everything down, but as I bring everything in, we get really, really unlucky with one of the portals. So you really want to move things out. When the combatants come out on the field, you want to move out of them. And then there's these the Ghost Tauren, the Ghost horses. I really don't know what to call them. They will just literally run in a straight line. Not exactly the funnest thing in the world. Just constantly keep yourself moved as much as possible and try not to stay in the middle. So I will usually kind of use the outer edge or the inner edge of the pentagon here as my method, the best method for like where I want to tanker and things like that, to give you enough room to kind of move around and do what you need to do, and then go from there. Aside from that, it's a basic rinse and repeat fight with all of these mechanics. The more stuff that goes on, it can get very, very hectic here as a tank, but the Reaping Scythe is really that big tank buster that you want to worry about. Plan your defensives around as much as possible for this. It does hurt. If you have an arms warrior in your party, or a warrior in your party, you can have them intervene you and hit Spell Reflect as the Reaping Scythe is being cast, and then you actually don't have to deal with every second one. There are ways around it, but aside from that, that is how to tank a Threatre of Pain, what to watch out for, and what to call out for as you're moving forward with it. Thank you very much for listening this far in. If you have any more questions about tanking or anything like that, do come down to the Mazarok Community Discord, link down below. If you want to see me on Twitch, come on by, link is there as well. As of recording this, I am at 989 subs on YouTube. Let me check real quick as well. 990 subs. We are 10 subs away from 1,000. So close to hitting the first big goal that I have set out for myself here on the YouTubes. So if you have not subscribed, I would hugely appreciate it. If you like this content and want to see more of it, hit that button. And we'll keep growing as things go on and help people get into tanking and tanking further and further keys. And if you're looking for any WoW news, check out my the Great Vault videos. I cover what's kind of going on with World of Warcraft and things like that throughout the week. Check those out. I hope you guys are excited for 9.2 as much as I am. All of my favorite tanks are really going to be looking to be pretty busted next year. What is your favorite tank? Let me know in the description down below. And is there anything else about Threatre of Pain that I may have missed? Any tips or tricks that you would like to add? Put those down in the comment section below. Always nice to get more advice, because tanks out there are pretty solitary creatures. We really only have ourselves to look out for, because really we're tanks. Aside from that, have yourself a good one. Enjoy your day. Bye.